Do you know what happened with Greece and Portugal in 2010? Let's see. What happened in 2010, which is known as the European debt crisis, which is the European debt crisis, often also referred to as the Eurozone crisis, is a multi-year debt crisis that has been taking place in the European Union since the year of 2009. Several Eurozone member states such as Greece, Portugal, Ireland, Spain and Cyprus were unable to repay or refinance their government debt or to bail out over-indebted banks under their national supervision without the assistance of third parties like other Eurozone countries, the European Central Bank or IMF. Next, the European debt crisis erupted in the wake of the Great Recession around late 2009 and was characterized by an environment of overly high government structural deficits and accelerating debt levels, when, as a negative repercussion of the Great Recession, the relatively fragile banking sector had suffered large capital losses. Most states in Europe had to bail out several of their most affected banks, with some supporting recapitalization loans because of the strength of the strong linkage between their survival and the financial stability of their economies. As in January 2009, a group of 10 Central and Eastern European banks had already asked for a bailout. What is bailout? Bailout is a colloquial term for giving financial support to a company or country which faces serious financial difficulty or bankruptcy. It may also be used to allow a failing entity to fail gracefully without spreading contagion. A bailout can, but does not necessarily, avoid an insolvency process. At the time, the European Commission released a forecast of a 1.8% decline in EU economic output for 2009, making the outlook for the banks even worse. The many public funded bank recapitalization were one reason behind the sharply deteriorated debt to GDP ratios experienced by several European governments in the wake of the Great Recession. The main root causes for the full sovereign debt crisis erupting in Europe were reportedly a mix of weak actual and potential growth, competitive weakness, liquidation of banks and sovereigns, large pre-existing debt to GDP ratio, and considerably liability stocks, such as government, private and non-private sector. In the first few weeks of 2010, there was renewed anxiety about excessive nation debt, with lenders demanding ever higher interest rates from several countries with high debt levels, deficit and current account deficits. This in turn made it difficult for far out of acting Eurozone governments to finance further budget deficits and repay or refinance existing government debt, particularly when economic growth rates were low and when a high percentage of debt was in the hands of foreign creditors, as in the case of Greece and Portugal. The states that were adversely affected by the crisis faced a strong rise in interest rates for government bonds as a result of investor concerns about their future debt sustainability. For Eurozone states had to be rescued by sovereign bailout programs, which were provided jointly by the International Monetary Fund and the European Commission, with additionally support at the technical level from the European Central Bank. Together, these three international organizations representing the bailout creditors became nicknamed the Troika. To fight the crisis, some governments have focused on raising taxes and lowering expenditures, which contributed to social unrest and significant debate among economists, many of whom advocate greater deficits when economies are struggling. especially in countries where budget deficits and sovereign debts have increased sharply. A crisis of confidence has emerged with the widening of bond yield spreads and risk insurance on CDs between these countries and other EU member states. Thank you.
Warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Aisha Ramita Jamil. Today I'm gonna discuss about crisis in 2008, which is I'm referring to article The Global Financial Crisis and the Malaysia Economy, Impact and Response, written by Dr. Mahani Zainal Abidin, Director General AISIS Malaysia, and Professor Dr. Rajah Rasiah, the Faculty of Economics and Administration, University Malaya. So, the financial crisis of 2007 and 2008, also known as the Global Financial Crisis and the 2007-2008 Financial Crisis, is considered by many economists to have been the worst financial crisis since the Great Depression of 1930s. It began in 2007 with a crisis in the subprime mortgage market in the US and developed into a full-blown international banking crisis with the collapse of the investment bank Lehman Brothers on September 15, 2008. Further losses revealed by major global financial institutions caused a flight to safer assets, including cash. As a result, the securities debt markets froze. Market liquidity dried up and global equity markets declined sharply to multi-year lows by March 2009. The extraordinary policy measures, including near-zero interest rate, quantitative easing, and measures to ease liquidity and credit conditions that were taken in the major advanced economies. In the Asian region, growth performance, the export sector was adversely affected. The more open economies, particularly the new industrialized Asian economies, experienced deeper recessions. Growth was further affected by large inventory drawdowns as firms sharply reduced production and postponed investment plans, resulting in abnormally low level of inventories. As a result, labor market conditions also weakened, with unemployment rising in most countries. Those affecting consumer confidence and spending. The Malaysian economy contracted 1.7% in 2009, a year when the global economy experienced its deeper downturn in modern history. The domestic economy experienced the full impact of the global recessions in the first quarter, declining by 6.2%, marking the first year-on-year contraction in real GDP since the third quarter of 2001. The collapse in the global demand and world trade led into double-digit declines in Malaysia's export industrial productions. In response to global crisis, the government introduced several policy measures to adverse impact of the global downturn and to prevent the economy from slipping into fundamental economic recessions. These measures centered around three broad areas, namely fiscal policy, two stimulus package amounting to RM67 billion or 9.9% of GDP were unveiled. Monetary easing, the overnight policy rate was reduced by a total of 150 basis points to 2.00% and reinforced by comprehensive measures to ensure continued access finance. The implementation of these measures not only provided direct support to domestic activity, but equally important, led into a revival in business and consumer sentiments. As a result, domestic demand registered a slower decline of 2.2% in second quarter of 2009 and subsequently recovered to record a positive growth of 1.7% in the second half of the year. Of significance is the improvement in private consumption, which recovered to post a growth of 0.5% in the second quarter, before strengthening further to 1.7% in the fourth quarter. The Malaysian economy, given high degrees of openness, was affected by global recessions, which set in during third quarter of 2008 and continued into first quarter of 2009. With the stabilization of the global financial markets and the subsequent recovery in the economies of the advanced country, the rapid policy response on both the fiscal and monetary fronts had an important role in sustaining domestic demand throughout this period.
The new Korean government and paradigm shift. Based on the Financial Times, which has the title of South Korea Boosts Growth Forecast to 3% on July 25, 2017, South Korea's new government raised its 2017 economic growth forecast to 3%, the highest it has been in 3 consecutive years, and launched a fiscal plan that President Moon Jae-in said for a complete paradigm shift. A 5-year economic plan was revised in its 2017 growth projection upward from 2.6%, buoyed by Parliament's recent decision to spend an additional $9.85 billion USD, aimed at creating jobs and stimulating the economy. South Korea's economy grew 2.8% in the last year. A 3% expansion looks achievable, assuming that the economy continues to undertake reforms for consumption-led growth, said Lee Chan-woo, the Deputy Prime Minister of South Korea. The policies and budget was reformed to better focus on creating jobs. The government seeks to generate growth from increased household income and cut the country's reliance on export-driven expansions. Exports, which account for half of the country's gross domestic product, have surged this year on the back of a strong global demand for Korean technology products, while domestic consumption has remained sluggish due to a slow wage growth. The government expects exports to remain strong in the second half of 2017. It sees exports jumping to 10.2% this year, while domestic consumer expenditure is forecasted to increase to 2.3%, held back by the high household debt. This paradigm shift is based on a negative side effect from Koreans' long-held export-driven growth strategy, such as income inequality between households and the corporate sector, causes imbalances between exports and domestic demand, and a widening gap between large and small businesses, said Kwon Young-sun, an economist at Nomura. Concerns over social inequality are also being addressed by the government by boosting minimum wages and unemployment benefits, while cracking down the unfair business practices of big family-run conglomerates known as chaebol. This is easier said than done. A shift to welfare state is a daunting challenge that cannot be realized without raising taxes comprehensively, said Oh Suk-Ti, an economist. It is also a tough task to look into every single business deal to ferret out corruption. Mr. Moon said on that fiscal plan marked a complete paradigm shift for Asia's fourth largest economy. Mr. Moon was elected on a platform to end cozy ties between government and chaebol, highlighted by the corruption scandal that has led the former president of Park Geun-hye's impeachment and Samsung Hae Lee Jae-young's indictment on allegations of bribery, embezzlement, and other financial offences. The economic plan also includes a pledge to improve corporate governance, a long-term problem for the Asian country. Kim Sang-jo, the new leader of the country's antitrust watchdog, has pledged to halt the unfair dealings between big companies and their small subcontractors and to boost fines for unfair business practices. The plan also provides subsidies to boost jobs at small and mid-sized companies.
During the question about are we Keynesians or monetarists, and crisis that happens in 2008, I think we are using monetary policy as I stated before in this video. Thank you.